Match number 1, game 1. We are on the play. We are playing Esper Ketramose. Our hand is kinda medium. We do have a Fatal Push, which is good against some matchups, Flicker Wisp, even against others. We don't really have any engine, but we do buy ourselves some time. I think it's a very unenthusiastic keep. Also, my cat is really unenthusiastic right now because there was a fly bug in her. So we can move a bit. Say hello to the world. We'll just start with a Flooded Strand to grab ourselves a Surveillant. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire, so he's probably on Prowess, I would assume. I will just grab a Meticulous Archive, so I have all my colors with the Bleachbone Verge. Thoughtseize sounds pretty decent actually. Should have probably grabbed another land. Should have maybe been the Shadowy Backstreet, so I could double spell with my Fatal Push. And it is Prowess, indeed. We will definitely get rid of the Expressive Iteration, because it's the only form of card advantage our opponent has. Our opponent has a lot of burn spells and a DRC. Good thing we can get rid of the DRC right now. Opponent puts Mutagenic Growth into his yard. As long as he doesn't draw a Cory Steelcutter, I think we are pretty fine. Cory Steelcutter would be really annoying to deal with right now. Only the Channeler, we already knew about that, and probably the Bauble right now to surveil. Opponent drew a Preordain. That's also absolutely reasonable. Would have liked to Fatal Push right here, but I wanted to grab the Meticulous Archive in case we drew a Psychic Frog. Opponent put both cards on top of his library, so there's likely either an Expressive Iteration or a Steelcutter in one of those. We do find a Psychic Frog, that's exciting, so let's just grab another land so we can double spell, and I want to preserve my life total, so I will go for the basic Swamp right here. And now we can just play out Psychic Frog. Our opponent does have a lot of burn, so we know that he can double Lightning Bolt and we can't protect it from that. But if he does that, I won't discard my hand into the Lightning Bolt, which is what I meant to say, because we do know he can kill it. That's Steelcutter. That's okay, because now we can actually protect our Psychic Frog from our opponent's burn, and we can just flicker away one of his tokens. Even though Flicker Wisp is really bad against Lava Dart. Opponent's cards are all burn spells. I will just take the hit, there's no need to block for us right now because we can just flicker away the token with our Flicker Wisp, and our opponent would be able to kill our Psychic Frog if he blocked with his Lightning Bolt. Opponent plays Lava Dart at our face, so he does just go for more burn. We will just take the hit, we will take the damage. Also no flashback right here, just the Lava Dart for 2 more damage, that's totally fine. We draw another Psychic Frog. That's also pretty interesting. Let's just go for hit first, draw our card off the trigger and see what we do. It's a Boggart Trawler. We could exile our opponent's graveyard to get rid of the Lava Dart, but I think I just want to make sure we get rid of the token. Let's play this tapped. And let's exile our opponent's Monk token. We are really low on life right now because our opponent can flashback Lava Dart and double Lightning Bolt in our face. Flashback Lava Dart, get rid of the Flicker Wisp, Lightning Bolt us. We're at 9. Opponent makes a token. Lightning Bolts us again. We're at 6. Token is 3/3. So we are dead to another Lightning Bolt. But if our opponent doesn't find any more burn, we can try to stabilize with our Solitude. Also, I just realized I forgot to change the banner down here. Opponent goes for the expected Lava Dart. Plays one of these Lightning Bolts, hits our face. Good thing right here is that this means that he probably didn't draw another creature. Yeah, one of his cards was a Scalding Tarn. Does he go for the second Lightning Bolt to make sure he gets more damage, or does he keep the Lightning Bolt to trigger Steel Cutter next turn? We shall see. He will take the hit, and our opponent appears to not use his Lightning Bolt right now, but he's still thinking, no, we just take the damage, okay. Opponent keeps the Lightning Bolt to make triggering the Steel Cutter easier next turn. We do find an Overlord, which is also a pretty good draw. We could impend Overlord, Flicker Wisp our Overlord, then we have Overlord, and we could hit another white creature to evoke our Solitude. That also sounds pretty good. I think I will do that, and I think I will also keep back our Psychic Frog to make sure we are safe for now. Maybe that's a bit too passive, but I think with Overlord coming, we should be able to overwhelm our opponent no matter what. Overlord does find another white card already. That's what we needed to see. So we can just go for the Flicker Wisp, flicker our Overlord, grab the other Solitude, and we are protected pretty well right now. Let's see what we get. Is there anything else we can get rid of? Because I would like to keep the Solitude in the graveyard. There unfortunately is not, so we will grab the Solitude. But we do have big blockers and a Solitude as protection. So I think we should be good. Opponent fetches end of turn, does not have another Surveillant. That's interesting. Just grab the Steam Dance and let's see if there is anything spicy happening. There is an Expressive Iteration that could become dangerous. Let's see what he hits. Opponent exiles a Mishra's Bauble to trigger a Steel Cutter. That's okay. We do have a ton of blockers. Our Overlord is huge. And I will throw him under, but if it needs to happen. Especially with our opponent having the Lightning Bolt. Opponent does not re-equip on the other Monk token. That's interesting. Opponent uses Bauble to look at our next draw. And I'm really interested in why our opponent did not re-equip. Maybe he's just hoping that this Monk token will come through, but if it's only this one Monk, I will just use the Solitude because I doubt our opponent will be able to remove the Overlord. And we probably can just grab another Solitude again and go further from that point. Opponent is hesitant on his attack. Opponent does not attack. That's also really interesting. This means I will just relax. Opponent can draw a card with the Bauble. I'm totally fine with that. I can now exile the Chorus Steel Cutter, evoke a Solitude, get rid of this. Do have a couple of lines here. We could also just discard a Solitude to make sure we can pick up another Solitude after playing a Solitude. How dangerous is the Steel Cutter right now? I think we want to get rid of the Steel Cutter, even if it's just because of the trample. Not even necessarily because of the bodies, even though the bodies obviously are really dangerous, but the trample can be really annoying. Let's just give our Psychic Frog flying. I will actually discard one of the Solitudes right now, so our Overlord can pick it up and we don't have to use the other Solitude and exile it for now. And if our opponent tries to Lightning Bolt, I will just discard the other Psychic Frog. Do have the Overlord trigger. Let's just get back our Solitude. Hit our opponent for 7, opponent down to 9. We draw a card with Psychic Frog. It is another white card, that's pretty nice. I will keep the Switch Enchanter in hand to pitch to a Solitude. And I will pass the turn. The opponent has this one Lightning Bolt that we know of. So we still have to be cautious about our life total. Opponent has another Expressive Iteration. That's pretty dangerous. Our opponent can definitely find other burn spells. Good thing is our opponent is down to 2 mana right now. So he has to find another bolt and a lava dart and needs another land. And we do have the Solitude right here to give us company. Opponent finds a Monastery Swift Spear, that's also pretty okay for us. Has a land, fetches, grabs another Steam Vents, goes down to 6, probably plays a Swift Spear, and will possibly Lightning Bolt one of our creatures. There's the Swift Spear. Now I'm just wondering if this Lightning Bolt will go onto one of our creatures or into our face. In the end, it doesn't really matter, because we do have the Solitude for one of the attackers either way. Opponent has another creature, but Spring Thread Channeler doesn't have haste, so it's not really dangerous for us, and we know about his Lightning Bolt. Opponent moves to combat. I will just block everything right here. Let's block this. Let's block this. I will just throw the Psychic Frog under the bus because I don't really care about it and I just want to preserve my life total a bit more. If our opponent casts the Lightning Bolt, I will exile the Swift Spear in response. Let's get rid of the Switch Enchanter and let's get rid of the Swift Spear. And our opponent scoops it up. Nice, onto sideboarding. Looking at our sideboard, we have some interesting choices. Strategic Betrayal is a decent removal spell that also exiles the graveyard to shrink DLC and get rid of Lava Dart, which is pretty interesting. Sword Seize hurts us a lot, so I'm not too high on it. And we also do have Pest Control against Token and the small stuff, but we also do have Wrath of the Skies against their Cory Steel Cutters. Question is if I do find enough room to get rid of all of those, I think we can cut one of the Flicker Wisps, even though it's really good with Overlord, just like we saw this game, because it can proactively figure it without needing to survive one turn like Failure. I think getting rid of one of those is still a good call because it dies to the Lava Darts, and getting rid of one of the Ephemerates might also be a decent call. So let's get rid of those. And on to game number 2. Game number 2, we do have Strategic Betrayal to exile one of our opponent's creatures. We do have Ketramose to potentially draw a lot of cards. We have Overlords to dig for Solitude. And if we find a Solitude together with our Ephemerate, there should be little to nothing to stop us. So I will keep this, even though our mana base is looking a bit sketchy. But we do have all the colors we need. It's also really nice that our opponent appears to have slow start as well. We do find a Solitude already. So I will just play a Marsh Flats and keep up Solitude Ephemerate without having to pay 3 life for my Witch Enchanter right here. Opponent went for the expected end of turn Surveil, kept his card on top, and now we will see what our opponent is up to in his turn. There is another land. There's 2 likely scenarios right now. Either he just plays a Steel Cutter with a Bauble, or our opponent will suspend or plot, I should say, a Slickshot Show Off. Our opponent appears to do neither. That's pretty interesting. I don't quite know what our opponent is keeping, so that's the case. Let's just go for Shadowback Street, make sure we have black mana. Keep the land on top so we don't have to hurt ourselves. Go to our turn. I will just impend one of our overlords right now, because we do have two, and we don't need to ephemerate our Solitude right now, most likely. We can just grab back our Solitude next turn with the other overlord. So let's just see what we hit, and if there is anything interesting to pick up. We will just gear to this trigger, and we will, I think, grab our Boggart Trawler, because it is another land drop that's secured this way, and we can potentially pitch our Witch Enchanter for our Solitude and can maybe keep our Ketramose. End of turn, our opponent didn't do anything. Opponent appears to be on a really awkward draw right now. Prowess without casting a spell in the first 2 turns looks like a bad draw. Maybe our opponent kept a lot of removal spells and was expecting to kill a failure right there. There's a Steel Cutter, we expected that one. And there's a Lava Dart. That's absolutely fine. We can just get rid of both of those with our Strategic Betrayal and keep both our Witch Enchanter to answer the Quarry Steel Cutter and our Boggart Trawler as a land drop. We just take the 2. Nothing much to worry about right here. And move to our turn. It is kinda sad. Oh, we do draw another land. That's also pretty good. So I will play this. And I want to make sure our opponent doesn't have access to the Lava Dart for an easy trigger on a Steel Cutter. So I will use a Strategic Betrayal, which is kinda bad against the token, but it's still nice that it cleans up the Lava Dart. We have our white mana ready to use our Solitude, and next turn we can just play Boggart Trawler, cast Witch Enchanter, and get rid of the Steel Cutter for good. So I am feeling great. Opponent has another land drop. Prowess on 4 lands naturally also does not seem too hot. There's a Slick Shot. We thought that something like this might happen, but there is no second spell for our opponent to go for the Steel Cutter. Our opponent really appears to have a super awkward draw, and I don't think there is any way for our opponent to protect his creature from our Solitude. So I will just get rid of the Steel Cutter, play the Boggart Trawler, pay the 3 life, cast Witch Enchanter. Even though I don't keep up Fatal Push, I don't keep up Ephemerate right now, I don't really care about that. We are so far ahead, with our opponent being down to 3 cards and only the plotted Slick Shot, where we are able to answer it with a Solitude, and we got rid of the Steel Cutter. I don't really think there's too much to worry about. Especially with us being able to pick up Solitude again after using it with our Overlord. And the first Overlord already being halfway done through being a real creature. Opponent plays the Slick Shot. That's what we knew he had. Now let's see if our opponent has anything exciting to back it up. Opponent just goes to combat. If our opponent doesn't cast anything, we will just take it, but probably there's a couple of pump spells in our future. There is Lightning Bolt number 1, and I will already just fire off our Solitude. I think I will keep my Ephemerate ready to have access to more Solitudes in the future, because Ketramose losing us life is also not the best in this matchup. So I will go for the Solitude right here, and obviously get rid of the Slick Shot. Let's see if there's any more burn. Our opponent will shoot at our face right now, or our opponent will just keep it as is. Opponent appears to have some spells in his hand. There's no creature, there's no more burn. We do draw Flicker Wisp, that's also pretty nice. So we can flicker our Overlord to grab back our Solitude and have another decent target for our Ephemerate right here. We speed up this Overlord for 1 turn, which is also not too bad. Just hit our opponent for 2. Pretty much no, our opponent has no creatures in his hand. So we will just go in, grab our Solitude back with our Flicker Wisp. doubt there's anything else I would want to take. We do hit a Ketramose, which is nice for the next turn maybe, but for now we will just stack up on Solitudes and be happy with our life. Our opponent goes this turn to 4 cards. The only real danger for us right now would be him having multiple lightning bolts, so he could just kill us straight up. Otherwise, I doubt there's anything real dangerous. So let's see what he's got. Tapping 1 mana and cast the Lava Dot on our Flicker Wisp. I will protect my Flicker Wisp and reset our Overlord to get some more triggers. If our opponent goes for another burn spell on our Flicker Wisp, I'm more than happy with that. Be my guest opponent, especially because this also means that our opponent most likely does not have the ability to do with our Overlord. We get to Flicker Overlord. We are happy. Lava Dart hits the yard, and our opponent passes the turn. Overlord comes back. Let's see what we find. There's another Witch Enchanter, which is also pretty nice because it's another land drop, and our opponent seems to agree. Nice, on to the next match. Match number 2 is Esper Ketramose. We are 1-0. We have Ketramose, we have Ephemerate and a Witch Enchanter. This hand unfortunately does nothing, so we will mulligan. And we find a pretty okay hand. We can't play our Relic turn 1, we can't play Psychic Frog the next turn, or Overlord depending on how our next draw is. And we can just put one of our lands on the bottom. So I'm happy to do this, but our opponent still has to decide what's up. Also, another reminder, if you like the content, if you want to help me improve, leave a comment, leave a like. I'm literally just starting, and I think it's okay what I'm doing already, but I know that there's a lot I can change. So if there's any deck you want to see, if there is any format you want me to play, I'm open to suggestions. But obviously Modern is my favorite format, so I will try to stay in this lane. But we already played Legacy once and were successful at failing, so maybe we will do something like that again. Opponent plays a Polluted Delta, so it could be the Mirror, it could be a Frog, it could be a lot of things. But I will just go for Psychic Frog. If the opponent later pushes out Psychic Frog or something like that, we can just grab it back with the Overlord next turn. I'm not too mad about it. But with this hand we would definitely love to have a Ketramose. And I said we don't have one of those. Oh, hello there. Yeah? What are you up to? Shocked in the Watery Grave, so it's probably a Fatal Push coming our way. And there is. Let's just make our opponent exile the card, so we can get some F6 value. Cuddle with our cat. You want to take a seat in your bed? Yeah, take a seat in your bed. Or you want to cuddle some more? Sure. I would bet our opponent is playing proper blue-black Murktide with a second Polluted Delta right here, and him grabbing a Watery Grave turn 1 instead of a Godless Shrine. So there's most likely a counterspell in our future, which is why I won't run out my Overlord right now, because we don't really have anything else going on for now. Let's just make our opponent exile its instant sorcery if he doesn't respond. Let's just pass it. Opponent grabbed an Undercity Sewer, so he is playing Blue-Black Frog. Question now only really is if he's playing Oculus or not. But I think the current trend has been going away from Oculus, but I might be out of touch with it. If our opponent would be playing Oculus, our Relic would absolutely be great. Otherwise, our Relic is okay against normal Murktide, so I won't complain. And if we manage to resolve one of our big threats, it is Mill. Okay, that's a surprise, and an unpleasant one at that. Oh damn, we're in for a ride, because our deck definitely mills itself a lot. Let's just see what we have right here. It is a Psychic Rock. I would love to draw that, so I will crack my relic. Opponent is playing Mill. That's a really tough matchup for us. Overlord just became a lot worse. But we do have a second Psychic Frog. I will just go for the double frog right now. Just trying to grow frog to unreasonable amounts and hitting our opponent with is probably the best way we can win this matchup. And Overlord just helps our opponent. Good thing our opponent milled another Fatal Push to his Undercity Sewers, so he might be low on removal. And our frogs might be able to go the way. Opponent plays another island. Also, our opponent did not have an archive grab in response to our fetches, which is really nice for us. But we don't really have anything good in our sideboard for the matchup. We do have Swordseize. Get rid of one more card, but otherwise we are really low on interaction here. So it will be tough. Opponent maybe does not know that we can fade round in the lock by just exiling all of our cards. So we will just do that. Let's just exile some more. 1, 2, and 3. And let's just exile some more. 1, 2, and 3. It keeps a Solitude in our graveyard. And nice. Maybe we should have kept the Ketramose, because we do have Ketramose next turn with our Overlord. Probably a mistake right here. But we are here to learn, aren't we? Play the Witch Enchanter, and let's just hard cast this Overlord. It does mill us, but it also is a real good block against our opponent if it is live. So now I think I will just go for the big hits and discard one card into both Psychic Frogs, because I really want to make sure we get to kill our opponent as fast as possible. And we do draw 2 more cards. We also split our buffs, so one Fatal Push does not ruin our day. And as we already have seen, Drown in the Lock doesn't really do anything against our Psychic Frogs. Let's draw 2 cards. Can give to this. There's a Ketramose, so next turn we can go pretty nuts. And probably have lethal. Get to resolve our Ketramose, exile some cards, draw some cards, pitch them into the Psychic Frog, have even more cards to discard. Even without the Dark Bloods combo, we can do a lot of damage. Opponent just plays a land, is up to 5 mana. Could be something dangerous right here. Maybe Tethers and a Glimpse could possibly kill us. There is a Jace Perfected Mind. I don't really mind that, I think. Because it will never draw that many cards against us. Milling us for 15 wouldn't really hurt us, and a -3, -0 would maybe even be the best mode for our opponent right now, because it could possibly stop our lethal. Play the Ketramose, we have 2 cards in hand, 4/4. Exile 2, draw 2 more, pitch another one, we have another draw. No? Would be close. Our Overlord would also draw another card. We shall see. Opponent does go for the +1 on the Overlord. So let's see what will happen. We do find an Ephemerate. That should just be enough, because it is 2 draws off of our Ketramose. Just Ephemerate the Ketramose. Draw the card. Find another Overlord. Let's draw some more. 1, 2, 3. draw some more. 1, 2, 3. 6 damage, 7, 8, 9 damage. This is even more. Your opponent can play something. So we can play land to draw 2 more, which we can discard. 6 damage, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It is a close one. Six cards, discard. We have 6 attackers. We have Lisa right now. Unless our opponents should have another fatal push. Let's just draw one more. Let's hit our opponent. Grab another card. Have even more triggers. 1, 2, 3. Well, as you're able to see, Psychic Rock plus Ketramose can go absolute bonkers. And our opponents sit up. Nice. On to sideboarding. As we already realized, we don't really have too many sideboard cards. And Overlord can be really scary by milling us ourselves. I think I'll just put in the Swordseize and go up to 61. We have some more interruption. We do have a decent amount of removal for the crabs. So I think we're good as it is. And just hope for the best. You could also try to cheese your opponent a bit with Vindicate and White Orchid Phantom. But against Mill, I'm not really a huge fan of that. Game number 2 against the Mill. We do have Thought Thieves, we do have a Flicker Wisp. But we don't really have anything going on. We have no real clock, so we will mulligan. This hand looks a lot more promising. Let's keep it. Let's put away our fetch land because fetch lands are dangerous. You can't forget that against Mill. And let's see what our opponent does. Let's just hope there is no crabs coming, because we can potentially just go Overlord into Flicker Wisp and have a relatively decent clock against them. Let's see. Opponent plays Sheldog Isle, puts a card on the bottom. So there's no crab turn 1. I do like to hear that. Let's just play a Witch Enchanter. Let's not pay life, even though it doesn't really matter. And let's just see what our opponent has in store for us in a second turn. It's also just a little bit over to our kitty. Yeah, that's nice. Opponent shocks in a watery grave. Don't quite know what that could mean actually. Let's just impend our Overlord and hope for the best. Our opponent can't even draw on the rocket. We will grab a Psychic Frog. We've already established Psychic Frog is pretty good against them, even though we can't cast it now. Being able to clear our own graveyard and being able to combo off with Ketramose are huge factors. What do you have, opponent? There is a crab. That's okay, we do have an answer for that. And our opponent only has an Oboro, no fetch land. That's okay for me. Opponent hits a Flicker Wisp, Emperor Bones, and a Watery Grave. That said, I would have liked that Watery Grave, because we could have cast Prismatic Ending plus the Psychic Frog right here. And I think I really want to get rid of this crab. So let's exile that. And let's just play a Meticulous Archive. Keep our Thoughtseize, so next turn we can Thoughtseize and Flicker Wisp our Overlord. Or we can play Psychic Frog, keep up Ephemerate for protection, and Thoughtseize our opponent. We will just Thoughtseize our opponent first to see what we will do, but those are pretty much our reliable lines right here. Opponent has a Field of Ruin. That's kind of annoying, but our opponent does not use it, even though he knows that we kept our card on top. I do like the sound of that, opponent. You are my kind of guy. Let's see what you have. Opponent casts Drown in the Lock on our Thoughtseize. I like the sound of that. And this works with 20 of your cards in the library, not with cards in grave, so I will go for the Flicker Wisp, I think. And reset our Overlord. And we do find What do we find? Is there a Ketramose maybe? There is another Psychic Frog. I will take another Psychic Frog. I don't mind that. Even we don't have a second blue mana, but Psychic Frog still is just really good for us. Being able to stop future brown in the locks, being able to stop Jace from drawing cards, being able to stop potential the 1 mana card draw spell. I don't recall the name, but I think most of you know what I mean. Do sound pretty decent. So opponent plays another Field of Ruins. We could start to Stone Rainers because I think there's only one Plains in our deck, but I don't quite remember. Let's just look at our deck list for a second. We look at our deck list. And we do see 2 Plains. So, okay, our opponent won't be able to Stone Rainers for now. Opponent casts an Ensnaring Bridge. That's kind of annoying, but we can handle that with our Flicker Wisp. And we can even handle it permanently by using our Flicker Wisp to reset our Witch Blast Meadow. And I do really like the sound of that. Let's just play out Psychic Frog for now. Because using our Flicker Wisp on the meadow would also just mean that we don't get to hit with our Overlord either way. And we will just go for it now. If our opponent casts a removal spell on our Flicker Wisp, we are fine with that. But I doubt there is one coming. Let's go. Let's reset our Flicker Wisp. Opponent does not have Revolt for Fatal Push, and we can fade his Drown in the Lock. That's pretty nice. Let's get our Witch. Let's destroy the Ensnaring Bridge and make our opponent really sad, hopefully. Appears that our opponent did not think about that line. I do like that. Opponent goes for a Fatal Push on Psychic Frog. That's okay for me. I will, in response, take some graveyard though to make sure that there's no shenanigans going on later on. Let's just grab everything here, make our way out. Nice and squeaky clean. 1, 2, and 3. Only 2 cards left in the graveyard. I can leave it like that. Witch Enchanter gets rid of the Ensnaring Bridge. You go, opponent. Opponent down to 3 cards in hand. We are still at 39 cards in our library, so the Shelllock Isle is still quite a bit away from being active. And the 2 Feet of Ruin, as we already realized, won't do too much because we do have 2 Plains. It could strip us off of our blue mana, which would be really annoying because we wouldn't be able to cast our Psychic Frog. But so be it. If our opponent uses both Feet of Ruins right now, that means that we basically had a free turn and we only made 4 cards off of our Overlord. Opponent activates a Burrow, so he probably has a grab right here. Yep, there's a grab. That's fine. Only the Burrow mana. Now our opponent would probably go for the Field of Ruins to mill some more. Is there a Field of Ruin coming? No Field of Ruin. I like that. We will just keep the Ephemerate in Rebound because we want to hit our opponent as hard as we can. And we will play a Psychic Frog and use a Solitude to get rid of the Ruin Crab to get our hits in. Opponent is thinking about a Psychic Frog. Probably a counterspell. No counterspell. That's also pretty sweet for us. Let's get rid of this failure. Let's exile this Ruin Crab. And we have a 2-turn clock. Opponent is down to 2 cards. He does have the Field of Ruins. But we still have all our basics. Is there a Field of Ruin activation in response to our Solitude? There probably should be. Opponent does activate the Field of Ruin and gets rid of our blue mana, but we already used it, so we are pretty fine with it. I won't impend the other Overlord, because I don't want to mill even more cards. Opponent answer his Ruin Crab. We move to combat. And we will still be at 27 cards. It It's not the best because our opponent does have the Shelldock Island. There might be something dangerous hiding down there, but I think it should be enough. We grab a failure because we can't even cast it. And we will just wait. Maybe our opponent will just scoop before his turn even ends. Maybe not. Opponent is down to 5 life. We're still at almost half our library. So I'm feeling pretty good. But from 5 mana on, there could be a lot of dangerous stuff happening. Our opponent could cycle something right here, Millers for 4. And then he could have Heal of Ruin into Archive Trap and Shelldock Eye for the kill. Well, there's nothing guaranteed yet. Opponent starts to pack cost and it's just a fatal push. I like the sound of that. I will yet again go for cleanup duty and save our yards. It also means that our opponent is down to 1 card in hand. So I'm feeling a lot safer right now. And only the single Overlord will be lethal next turn. But even if our opponent should find a miraculous way to deal with our Overlord, even though our yard is squeaky clean, I doubt that there is anything dangerous happening. And I want to make sure our graveyard is completely empty, so I will actually get rid of this Overlord in my hand as well, because I will never cast it to mill myself some more. When it activates Field of Ruin, let's just float a mana. Find our planes. An opponent, does he just pass the entire turn? Or does he just pass through to make us waste our mana? Has another land drop, only 1 card in hand, but there's also the Shelldock Isle. Does us 4 mana. Is it a Jace? Jace doesn't cut it. It's a Meathook Massacre. But we do have this failure, so we still have lethal. GG opponent. GG. Opponent goes up to 7 and we can hit him for exactly that. Let's just go straight to combat and not waste any time. Opponent scoops up the game. We're 2-0. Let's go. Match number 3 with Esper Ketramose. We are again on the play and our hand is looking pretty meh. We do have Fatal Push, we have Witch Enchant against some stuff, we have Trawler against some stuff. But I think we can probably do better. So let's mulligan. This hand looks a lot better. We do have Failure, we do have Flicker Wisp, we do have Thoughtseize. We will keep this. And we will probably put our Trawler on the bottom. Maybe the Flooded Strand. Not too sure. Let's put the Flooded Strand away. Let's just turn 1 Bogger Trawler into Thoughtseize and make our opponent think we are playing Necro Dominance. So let's do just that. Bogger Trawler, pay 3 life, play Thoughtseize, go down to 15 already. Damn, we are playing Death Shadow. And we are playing the Mirror. That's interesting. Though we could get rid of Solitude, we could get rid of Fatal Push so our Failure survives. I think I will actually get rid of the Fatal Push and hope our Failure can potentially push through. Good thing is that our opponent also has a pretty similar hand to ours, but he is playing red instead of blue because he does have the Sacred Foundry. Maybe it's just for sideboard, could definitely be the case. There's some people playing one single Sacred Foundry just for High Noon and maybe also Wear Tear. We will play the Flooded Strand and go for Failure end of turn. Opponent also milled another Solitude. Opponent plays the Marsh Flats, passes the turn. Nothing unexpected so far. We will play our Hallowed Fountain, so we have all of our colors. Flash and Failure. The opponent goes for Solitude here, we are absolutely happy with that. And if our opponent has another Fate Push, So be it.
No matter what kind of stuff is going on in your life.
I will go for a Flicker Wisp right now. And I will allow our opponent to survey once more, because maybe our opponent has another failure to potentially block ours. So I will try to get rid of this possibility. I could just go for the Marsh Flats, which means opponent would have to shock right now. We could go for our own Bogger Trawler to exile their graveyard. Let's try to snipe the Marsh Flats. I don't want to give our opponent a surveil. If he goes for failure right now, would be pretty annoying, but still okay. Opponent does not have a failure. We can go for the hit. That's a-okay for me. Unless he does use a solid for that, which looks pretty suboptimal. So let's Flicker or Flicker Wisp. And now we could actually... Opponent goes for a Solitude now. That's pretty weird. Exile the Witch Enchanter. It does not have anything to go with it. We can now actually get rid of one of our opponent's lands, so we can't play the Flicker Wisp next turn, which does sound kind of funny. I think I will potentially reset the Bogger Trawler. That means we couldn't cast another Flicker Wisp. It would also be kind of bad. Let's Stone Rain our opponent for one turn. Make him get back a tapped land the turn after, so we can't cast this on Flicker Wisp. Should also be pretty okay, even though he still gets to surveil again. Opponent has a Beachbone Birch, got that one. And now our opponent just skip through their turn. Solitude does kinda have me bedazzled. Opponent mills another Flicker Wisp, sure. And another land. See if there is anything interesting below here. Let's grab another Shadowy Backstreet for another black mana. There is a Swordseize right here. Don't really think that's gonna do too much. Let's just hit our opponent with a Flicker Wisp. Opponent casts Orcish Bowmasters. That's rough. That's unfortunately really good against our Flicker Wisp, especially because they do have another Flicker Wisp to reset their Bowmasters. So I will dig deeper with our Shadowy Backstreets in hopes of finding either another land for our Solitude or maybe an Overlord to grab back our stuff, or a Ketramose to potentially go over it. I will actually just keep this land to have our Solitude next turn, even though our opponent being able to Flicker Wisp his Orcish Bowmaster to get rid of our Flicker Wisp will definitely hurt a lot. But I want to make sure I can cast the Solitude and potentially an Overlord the turns after if we draw one. Good thing is that this deck top decks really well. Only real bad top deck without setup is a Ketramose, and a lot of our lands are life spells. So our opponent casts a Flicker Wisp before combat? He does. He does not take the free value. Well, to be fair, I would have actually blocked his Bowmaster because we know he could have killed it. So it does not attack. Does miss that attack though. We draw our land. Let's just get rid of the Flicker Wisp. No shenanigans happening here. Opponent has a couple of cards more than we do because he was on the draw. He had the really good trades with the Bowmasters and we had to mulligan. So it's looking kind of rough, but our opponent did kind of waste one of the Solitudes. He draws an Emperor of Bones. That's a rough one. Opponent can grab Solitude with haste to get rid of ours and hit us down to 6 life. But we also do gain 3, so we're up at 9, but that's still a brutal top deck. Leaves the 4/4 body. I have to find something good. That's nothing. Okay. Just one more draw step left. Let's see. Opponent has another Emperor, so we are cooked. I honestly have no real idea how to sideboard in this matchup. I think I do like the Strategic Betrayal because it can get rid of Ketramose and handle the graveyard for any future shenanigans. I don't think Swordseize is too bad to get rid of combo stuff. Prismatic Ending can also get rid of Ketramose, so I do like that as well. Maybe Ephemerate is a bit to win more. Handshake one Flicker Wisp never hurt anybody. Especially because our opponent is playing Bowmasters. Game number 2. We unfortunately lost the first one. This hand looks pristine. Let's keep it. We do have Emperor, we do have Swordseize to interrupt our opponent. We do have Fatal Push and Strategic Betrayal if our opponent plays anything. So let's fucking go. Let's just start with the Swamp into the Swordseize. Classic start that never hurt nobody. Opponent does have 2 Overlords. That's pretty nasty. Interrupter doesn't really do anything. Bowmaster doesn't really do too much. We will get rid of one of the Overlords because we can exile it with our Emperor next turn. And Overlord with Emperor is really nice value if we manage to pull it off. Opponent has a Shadowy Backstreet right now. Opponent so far also has no answer to our Overlord, to our Emperor, grabbing their Overlord, so I do like that a lot. Let's just go for it immediately. Grab our Hallowed Fountain again, so we have all of our colors. Play the Emperor of Bones and move to combat, exiling their Overlord. If we get to activate our Emperor next turn, this would be a ton of value that could definitely swing the tide of the battle, even if our opponent gets to flicker with their Overlord, because we can answer both with our Fatal Push and Strategic Betrayal the turn after. Expect our opponent to just impend the Overlord right now and look for a Solitude. Solitude would be really annoying. Opponent plays another Emperor of Bones. That's interesting to see. Definitely did not expect that. I think that is the Skyclave Apparition. Be my guest opponent. Don't really mind that. Honestly, I will just Fatal Push your Emperor of Bones and go for the big hit with the Overlord. Let's just hit you. Activate the Emperor. Get the Overlord. Find a Failure, that's decent. Move to combat, hit our opponent for 9, get rid of the other Emperor of Bones. And find another hit off of the Overlord. Fortunately can't take the Overlord, but we will gladly accept the Witch Enchanter to answer an Overlord from our opponent. Opponent already down to 10, we do have the big Emperor. Our opponent does not really have any good answers to it. Opponent does impend the Overlord, but we will just kill it with the Witch Enchanter. Opponent finds Flicker Wisp on Witch Enchanter. What should it be? Opponent grabs another Flicker Wisp. That's fine with us. Opponent removes the time counter. Let's just play the Boggart Crawler, play the Witch Enchanter, and hit our opponent for 4 after exiling their Witch Enchanter. Opponent down to 5 already, but we are also down to 9. We did hit ourselves a lot by playing the Boggart Bog, but we do have a decent board presence, and we have great answers for our opponent's threats. The Strategic Betrayal is going to be pretty good, I expect. Opponent does have the Orcish Bowmaster to have 2 buddies, but that's not too bad for us. So if we draw a land, we can flicker one of the buddies. It's Strategic Betrayal, the Bowmaster itself. It's just a land drop. We do have a land. We could also flicker our Emperor of Bones to exile our own Overlord and activate the Emperor of Bones again. But our opponent does have the Aven Interrupter, which could stop our Flicker Wisp. Let's just hit our opponent and see what he does. We'll get rid of our opponent's Overlord again. Keeping our own graveyard nice and juicy while applying a good amount of pressure to our opponent. There is a Bowmaster, to be expected. Opponent goes for the trade against the Witch Enchanter, it appears. Probably trade those. Yep. Opponent does not want to die. So we shall play Flicker Wisp to reset our Bog. Unfortunately tap wrong, but that's okay, we can just clear that failure right now. Should have tapped the Bog instead of this one to keep Feelia up. But that shouldn't hurt too much. See if our opponent has anything else right here. Just a tap Godless Shrine. Second Surveil is in the graveyard. Okay, I was confused for a second. Some of you probably don't know yet, but I am generally speaking a really confused individual. Opponent has an Overlord, empty graveyard, finds a Flicker Wisp or Felia. This is game. Nice, on to game number 3. During sideboarding, I don't think there's anything we can reasonably change. We could go for Grafdigger's Cage against opposing Emperor of Bones, but I think our Emperor of Bones just did really well right there. Maybe want to bring in the Vindicate against to have more answers against opposing Overlords. Doesn't sound too bad, but I really like the Strategic Betrayal right now, and I don't see myself really cutting any of the other cards because Fatal Push still is instant speed, and Prismatic Ending can answer Ketramose, which Vindicate unfortunately can't. We don't know if our opponent is our Ketramose, to be fair. I don't think we have seen one yet. And there is a lot of black-white builds running around without Ketramose. But the list I know that has the Sacred Foundry for the sideboard High Noon is running Ketramose, so I will keep it like it is. This hand looks pretty decent. We have Solitude, Psychic Frog, a couple of lands that could also do other stuff if we draw more lands. We have Strategic Betrayal for potential Ketramose, and we have Fatal Push against Felia. So that's a good keep in my book. Let's see what our opponent's up to. Maybe he does have discard spells on his own. We have not been Sword Seized so far by him. But our opponent shocks in the Godless Shrine, so probably Sword Seized. Yes, there it is. Opponent grabs our Fatal Push, so he probably has Felia and Overlord and wants to stop our instant speed interaction. Let's just play a Flooded Strand to grab a Surveillant next turn. Probably a Meticulous Archive, play the Boggart Trawler, and potentially pitch our Witch Enchanter into the Solitude. Yes, our opponent goes for the Boggart Borg, so he does have Felia. And we can't afford our opponent to get Overlord live. Meticulous Archive, we find a Sword Seized. That's also pretty sweet, because we can just get rid of one of those targets. So let's play the Boggart Borg and Sword Seize our opponent instead of playing the Psychic Frog. Opponent does have Felia, Skyclave Apparition, and Solitude. I think that Felia is the most dangerous thing right now, because our opponent could draw something really dangerous, and the other stuff can be handled pretty easily with our own Solitudes. Even though they are good answers against Psychic Frog, don't get me wrong, but this Felia has to go because of its repeatable flicker effect. Especially with our opponent being with 2 Shadowy Backstreets in hand, he has no shot of playing another card right now, unless he would have drawn another Felia or Orcish Bowmaster. Opponent uses the Shadowy Backstreet and keeps the card in the yard. Mills the Witch Enchanter. Looking fine to me. We could Stone Rain our opponent by flickering the Boggart Borg, but I think that's being too cute right there. Let's just play the Psychic Frog and the Marsh Flats. Let's play the Marsh Flats to have another Surveil. And maybe our Witch Enchanter can come in handy later on. Pretty much are guaranteed for our opponent to cast the Skyclave Apparition right there on our Psychic Frog, but we can just exile it with Strategic Betrayal. And maybe our opponent is scared of an Ephemerate. He's not. So, yes, you have our Psychic Frog opponent. I'm fine with that. We grab a Shadowy Backstreet of our own and look for anything big. We find a Thoughtseize. That's also pretty good. We can play Strategic Betrayal and Thoughtseize to get rid of our opponent's Solitude. I do like the sound of that. As long as Fatal Push, as long as Thoughtseize is value, it's often really good value. Opponent stuck with 2 lands right now. Let's Strategic Betrayal away the Skyclave Apparition. We get our token. And we will play the Witch Enchanter as a tapped land. And still Flicker with it to get rid of an Overlord our opponent could potentially draw. But it also makes it easier for us to hardcast Solitude in the upcoming turns. We'll grab the Godless Shrine. Not quite sure why our opponent didn't just play the Shadowy Backstreet the turn before. We knew he had 2 in hand. Now he just grabbed the Godless Shrine and had another tapped land in his hand. Kinda weird. Opponent mills the Boggart Trawler and has something to cast. It's a Flicker Wisp, probably gets rid of our token. He does. Last card in hand is a Marsh Flats. We do draw a Fatal Push. That's also pretty nice. We can get rid of one of our lands to activate our Fatal Push. Let's just do that. Let's reset our Boggart Bog. Fatal Push our opponent's Flicker Wisp and exile their grave. Why did that not work? The bug. We did it in the right order, but we did not get Revolt, even though our land left the field. Sweet! Let's continue with the game. What kind of person are you? If there is a bug like that, do you just go for reimbursement? Because in a situation like this, this could absolutely be a game loss for us, just because the card interaction didn't work the way it should. Our opponent does have an Emperor of Bones now. Fortunately enough, graveyards are empty and there's no creatures to get back. Ooh. Now we can't attack with our Flicker Wisp in the air. I think I will just take the hit to attack our opponent as well. We do have the faster clock. Our opponent should not have a clock at all. Well, so be it. Opponent basically has to find an Orcish Bowmaster to kill us right now. Can put us down to 1 if we just adapt the Emperor's Bones without getting a creature. There is no creature in the yard. That's good for us. Opponent takes us down to 5. Both down to 5. Pretty tough. Pretty tough. We find a Felia. That's pretty nice. Could get rid of the Emperor of Bones now. But unfortunately our opponent would not die. Can just hit him with a Flicker Wisp. It's a pretty close race right here. But we do have another blocker with a Felia, or in a pinch we could evoke our Solitude. Opponent down to 2 life. It's a real tight race. But I think I try to keep my Felia. as a backup blocker in case our opponent has a push or something right now, or as an attacker that can remove our opposing blocker. Can definitely do great double duty. White Orchid Phantom is annoying because it can block our flickers pretty well, and because our opponent does get a creature for the Emperor of Bones right here. That's rough. We have to use our Solitude right now, I think. Opponent could get... Let's think about this for a second. Opponent would get another 2 power attacker. So he would have to block the Emperor. Opponent would have 3 more damage here, 2 more damage there. We would also have to block another one. Opponent will have the White Orc Phantom left. The rough one. But we do have to evoke right here. Oh no! What am I doing? I'm so tilted that I do stupid shit. I could have half-casted Solitude by floating a mana. I mean, the opponent does even get 2 life more, but that's not really what's important. We could have just floated the mana, grabbed the planes, fetched with our Flooded Strand. Oh no, what am I doing? We would have our Solitude in play right now. And goes for attack, though a removal spell on the White Orchid Phantom will still be lethal. Or another Emperor of Bones of our own could also do the trick. And we do find a land. That's unfortunate. We do lose because of the Flicker Wisp.